Hi guys, it's so good to have you in this session of our government tutorials. And in this lesson, we will be considering pressure groups as well as public opinion. And at the end of this lesson, you should distinguish between pressure groups and political parties. I know that we have discussed political parties in our previous videos, so you get the video to understand political parties. So at the end, you should distinguish between pressure groups and political parties. Again, you should assess the function of public opinion, like how do we come by the public opinions, and to compare methods of assessing public opinion. Now we are going to start with pressure group. What is a pressure group? A pressure group is an organized group, of course, of persons which influence government decisions, whether economically or socially, without necessarily entering into election activities for the control of government. That means they are not in quest for power, but somehow they influence the decisions of government, any of the arms of government, be it executive or the legislature. They influence their activities. Maybe they fund the government. Somehow this group of people influence the activities of government, and anybody or any group which have such capacity, that is a pressure group. And we have so many types of pressure group. We have them all listed out here. We have the promotional pressure group. These people, they are not exactly fighting for their own rights. What they are agitating for would be for the benefit of other people, not for them. We have the economic pressure group. The economic pressure group has to do with promoting the economic advantage of other people. So an organization, maybe Cocoa Farmers Union, or people who are into manufacturing or producing, so they come together for the benefits and for the welfare of the members of the interest group. You could call them interest groups or pressure groups. We have professional or occupational pressure group. So body of professionals like the MBA, that's for lawyers. We have the NMA for medical doctors. They come together to promote the welfare of the members of that pressure group to the government. So they ensure that policies that are made are in conformity or would benefit the members of the pressure group. So they influence the decisions of government. You don't just make laws that would be adverse to the members of these pressure groups. And of course, we have government pressure groups. They emanate from government institutions. We have religious pressure groups like this CAN, that's CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria. So many religious groups who come together to ensure that the faith is preserved. Ethnic pressure groups, we hear things like Ohaneze Ndibo. Yes, that's ethnic group. We have the Yoruba unions. They have a lot of unions that project ethnicity. And of course, we have social pressure groups like the Boy Scouts, all the social clubs that protect the interests of the people who are members of the pressure group. Now, what are the functions of a pressure group? Now, basically, they protect the interests of the members, whether individually or collectively. So they come together, they are promoting an idea, they are promoting an interest, and that is what they do. They influence government policies just so their members are benefiting from those policies, and they act as watchdog over the public policies. So you don't just make laws or do any government activity that would be adverse to the members of those groups. They are kind of the protector to the members of the interest group, and they also serve as the link, a connection between the government and the people. So if there is a problem, the government would know about it through the pressure groups. And they provide welfare services to the people. So if there are lacks and wants that the government may not be able to reach out to them in time, this group of people, or whatever the names are, would step in and provide these welfare services. They also offer expert advice to government because they are in the field. They understand better what works and what will be more operational for them, and so they offer expert advice to government and also educate both their own constituency and the public. They hold symposia, they hold a lot of forums where people come in and are educated about what goes on in their sector. And of course, it is contributory, being that they contribute to the debate on issues of national importance. There could be an issue in the country, and they will be invited, whether in the house or any organization, any forum, where they can give their opinion. And of course, it will be held in high esteem because they are experienced, and of course they have the technical know-how about the area where they belong. Example, if there is an issue about sex marriage, people who are religious or who have influences in that area would also be called together to give their opinions about what goes on with sex marriage. Now, how do pressure groups operate? How do they launch their activities? First is by lobbying. So they try to influence the people, influence the legislature to ensure that they don't make laws that they would not be comfortable with. They could go by strikes and boycotts. Now, strikes could be the very last resort, where they refuse to do a thing, where they refuse to go to work, where they refuse to do what they are supposed to do. So when people abstain from their duty, trying to drive a point home, it actually enforces or influences the government from carrying out the decisions which, of course, they are preventing the government from doing. Publicity campaigns, of course, they make awareness, they carry out campaigns everywhere around, just to ensure that everyone knows what they are preaching about, through the mass media, through letters and petitions, through electoral politics. Of course, they would only vote into power the people who they know would preserve their interests. And of course, demonstrations. You see them carrying placards, protesting that they don't want a thing or that they want a thing. They can also go to court to enforce their rights if it has been trashed or trampled upon, or maybe laws which are unconstitutional have been passed. They could go to court to challenge those laws. They could go through warfare or dialogue, where they sit and talk with the government. Now again, I said we were going to look at the public opinion. Public opinion, just by the word public opinion, what the people view and think about a thing. So it is the collective belief. We cannot say a thing or an idea is a public opinion when it's just held by 2 or 3 people. It has to be a collective belief. That means the majority people, not just a fraction. Majority is the emphasis. Majority of the people actually believe or agree to that thing. So it is the collective belief or judgment or view of majority of the people about government policies and activities. So a government or whatever arm of government does a thing, how do the people react to those activities? That is public opinion. The feelings, the way people react to those activities. Now, what are the importance? Why do we need public opinion? It makes people aware of the activities of government, and so you are on the know. People keep talking and keep sharing their views about how the policies are, whether they are really effective. Should they go? Should they stay? Should there be amendments? Should there be improvements? And it also makes the government to know the people's feelings and needs. So you're not just ruling the air, you're ruling people with emotions. And so when they air their views, you get to know where they are hurting and where improvements need to be made. It also helps the people to express their views and their minds on the policies and the activities of government. They may not exactly stop the government from doing what they are doing, but at least they've made efforts to ensure that the government knows that they are ailing or they are failing in that regard. And it also helps in educating the mind of people. It helps to reshape or change the behavior of the general public. It also enhances directives for public policy. And so a law wants to come to, they want to pass a bill, and then it is gazetted. People begin to talk about it, begin to talk about the ills that would come when the law is made, and they prevent the government from doing or passing those laws into being. And it also helps in bringing down unpopular government. They can run the government down with their mouth. Now, how can public opinion be determined? How do you get to express your opinion and it becomes a public opinion? First is through the mass media. And so when you read newspapers, you listen to news, you listen to your radio set and every other means or channels like the Facebook or the social media handles. When you read them, you see comments, you see people's expressions about government policies, whether they are really in agreement with those policies or they are rejecting those policies. Of course, opinions expressed by leaders in the representative assemblies. And so in the House of Reps, we have the constituencies of every state represented, and then they make opinions. They talk about these laws, they talk about the government policies, the ones that should be and the ones that should not. Letters can be written to the government. Of course, the way government responds to their policies. Referendum, where people are called together to either say no or yes. Plebiscite or referendum, it means where there's a gathering of people, and then they are asked their opinion about a thing. Those for say aye, and they lift their hands and say aye. Those against say nay, and of course it is recorded. That is a referendum. So they really get to know. It's a choice gathering. They choose what sector of people to, of course, carry out the referendum or plebiscite. And of course, telephone calls. They could be called, ministers could be called to ask what is going on in the ministry. How is it that these people have complained about these things over the years and there's been no answer? They could be called on the phone. You could hear them when they hold forums, probably on programs on the TV and other social media handles. They could be called and their response would be recorded. Opinion polls too. Even through elections, you get to opine and tell the government how you feel about them. And when next you hear a house sit that there is a house sitting, take your time to go. You could go listen and understand how these opinions are formed, and it becomes public opinion. I am very sure you've had a good time. And then always remember to make comments, make public opinions about the issues that bother you. You're not going to be charged for that. Do have a good time. Thank you.